All right, we're live. Welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. My name is Aaron. I'm joined once again by my good friends Josh and Johnny. We are back for another episode. It is episode 97. Gentlemen, it's good to be back with you again. Josh, we'll start with you because I imagine your week went better than Johnny's. How was your week, man?
Yeah, my week was good. My week was still weird. I did a thing I don't normally do. I succumbed to capitalism.
Uh-oh.
I bought a product because of its advertising, and I don't know how I feel about
If
it.
it's
Not
a
Burger
Whopper,
King.
I'm
no,
sending
no.
you straight to jail.
If it was a Whopper, no, if it was a Whopper, I can't say this on the podcast officially, but I'm fine to light every Burger King on fire. But don't remove us, Spotify, please. It was. No, I was shopping and I came across. I was at Aldi and they happen to have Duke's mayo, and I'm like, you know what?
Oh,
They have a pretty fun Twitter account. They put on a fun mayo bowl. I'll give it a shot. So yeah, Burger King, that's what you got to do. Sponsor a fun bowl and have a fun Twitter account. Don't put another stupid song out.
yeah, agreed. Because Duke's mayo has never once in their entire life annoyed me ever. Burger
Never.
King does.
I've
constantly.
never been annoyed by them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of being annoyed, Johnny, what's up, man? How's your week?
Nice segue.
Thank you.
It's fine. It's a fine week. The week's all right.
Well, I mean, look, we warned you last week.
Nets.
We'd either have
The
a really happy
Nets.
Johnny or a really sad Johnny, with pretty much no in between. Actually, I think we may have found an in between. We may have found mad Johnny, so we'll get into that certainly.
We found Mad Johnny.
Yeah, we did. My week was good as well. Enjoyed the football, and we're certainly going to dive into that. Made it to Wright State. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Wright State over there. They let us have some media access to men's basketball, so we got to cover their game against Milwaukee. The second time in 12 days, they beat the top-ranked team in the Horizon League, so good for Wright State. Not quite the same season as they had last season where they won their first ever NCAA tournament game in program history, but still a team that if you're playing them in March, good luck. There's still some veterans on that team, so we'll dive into more of that as we get closer to March. But for now, of course, we had both the NFC and AFC Championships. And we'll start with the game that was first. Philadelphia handled the San Francisco 49ers 31-7. And on paper, heading into this game, everyone was really excited. You had the NFL's best defense by a lot of metrics. You have the NFL's best offense by a lot of metrics, or at least certainly within the NFC in the Philadelphia Eagles. And what happens instead? Brock Purdy gets hit in the elbow. We found out today he tore his UCL in his elbow. It's a 6-month injury, so he's out. Bring in quarterback number 4 for the San Francisco 49ers, Josh Johnson, and he goes out with a concussion. So in comes Brock Purdy, who can't throw, and that's really all you need to know about that game. There's obviously more nuance to it than that, but just generally speaking, when that happened, the 49ers never had a chance. 31-7, the final. Guys, your thoughts on this Philadelphia Eagles team that's headed back to the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts, one of the youngest quarterbacks to ever start a Super Bowl. Good for him, but curious your thoughts on this Eagles team and maybe what happened to the 49ers as well.
You feel bad about these types of games.
Yeah.
I saw someone on Twitter say, wish I could remember their handle, but regardless, they were like, watching, and we say this too, and I don't mean to be too elitist, but when we say we love Maction, when we say we love Sunbelt, Fun Belt, we realize that we are not watching top tier football. We are watching okay players play football and they make mistakes, and that's why we have the whole thing of the sickos watch.
Yep.
Because there can be some messy games out there that are fun to watch because it's college. Messy, bad college games are awesome. Messy, bad NFL games, especially a conference championship, it was just sad. The 49ers, I mean, they were just doing run plays basically the entire second half. Like, what else can you don't have I mean, it's one thing to say, well, they should have, run Wildcat the entire time. There was a clear, like, this is just going to happen. We're not going to just resign, but what are we going to throw Christian McCaffrey in? Like, what are we going to throw, like, a guy who's, Johnson has been in the league since, like, 09.
Yeah.
Like, what other realistic option do you have? And so it was just sad to see a run like that end in the way that it did, because in one sense it leaves, obviously the Eagles' pedigree this season speaks for itself. However, I wouldn't call that a good indication of what we're going to see just from that game alone going into the Super Bowl. We're not guaranteeing. We have to rely on all the other games because that game almost doesn't count as far as like what happened. And again, that wasn't anyone's fault. Brock Purdy, you get hurt. It happens. Like, So I will say, Jalen Hurts did great stuff. He put in his own. I mean, he ran through at least for one touchdown. I was on and off with the game. It was, no shade to them, but it was just a sad way to see the 49ers run come to an end. We were all, I think a lot of us were hoping to see Bengals 49ers. I think that would have been a really fun matchup for people to see. Maybe would have been intriguing, but I will say I have no hate towards the Eagles. They have a special place in my heart for making Tom Brady sad 5 years ago. So I will never be that upset at them ever getting into a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was disappointed, much like you, Josh, and much like everyone. Like, I was just really looking forward to an awesome game, smash mouth football, line of scrimmage game, two great defenses. I really was expecting that. And the refs have this terrible call, calling, Devontae Smith's catch a catch on that first touchdown drive for the Eagles. And between that and then Brock getting hurt, it was over. Like, the game was over after a quarter. And it was just so frustrating to see, what you said, Josh, a game with such stakes and importance just be over that quickly. And not because, like, the Eagles dealt a knockout punch, but really just via injury and / the ref messing up on that first play. Maybe the Eagles win anyway, but we would have all loved to see that. And then you saw the 49ers defense kind of panic.
Yep.
And they haven't panicked like that all season. And that's when you saw the unforced errors, all of those penalties, the defense, they were taking risks that defense normally does not. Nick Bosa got banged up on a weird sideline interaction on a special teams play. It just, the game got out of hand. It could not have started worse for the 49ers, and then they were not going to be able to recover against a roster that is so well put together in the Eagles. I will say this for the Eagles going forward, and we're not going to talk a ton about the Super Bowl today because there's so much time to talk about the Super Bowl. So we're going to, we'll have time to talk about
we don't want
later.
to talk about the Pro Bowl odds.
Hey, I'm watching that flag football game though, in all seriousness.
Jalen Hurts does not look healthy to me still. He does not. If you look at the box score, the Eagles offense still really did struggle a lot in this game. San Francisco's offense just was so unable to do anything that the Eagles offense was put in such fantastic positions with the ball. Eventually they wear down the defense and they're punching it through. They really couldn't throw the ball very effectively. I really think Jalen still looks hurt to me. He does not look healthy. Here's the other thing about the Eagles. And I'm going to say this, and every Eagles fan is going to jump down my throat and say, what? How could you say that? This is maybe the easiest path to the Super Bowl I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got the 1 seed, so you have the bye. You get to play Daniel Jones and the Giants at home with a terrible roster. That's why Brian Daboll should be the coach of the year, in my opinion, because that roster sucks. It's a terrible roster. Yeah, like you have Kayvon Thibodeau, you have Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones looked a lot better. The offensive line is average this year, but you have no receiving threats. The defense is just holes everywhere, man. Like, that's a bad roster against the league's probably best roster. There's not a chance. And then you're playing the 49ers in the NFC title game, and we're imagining, man, this is going to be a great game. Well, their third string quarterback gets knocked out in the first quarter. We didn't even get a real game. And that's, again, this is not the Eagles' fault that they play in the NFC.
No.
It's not their fault that they got the 1 seed. No, it wasn't a dirty hit at all. That he got hurt. Like, the Eagles have no control over this. So don't hear me saying like, oh man, the Eagles are frauds, man. But like, we still really don't know what this team's capable of. I still have not seen Jalen Hurts 2 minutes on the clock. You're down 3. Go win the game. I haven't seen that from them yet. I have not seen that from the Eagles. And maybe somehow we don't see that this season. Maybe the rest of the roster is so good that they dominate the Chiefs in that game. But I still have questions about the Eagles, and it's not their fault that that's the case. They do what they do, and they do it really well. And it's you play who's on your schedule and who's in front of you. But I have questions about them because they don't play in the AFC, and the AFC is just a gauntlet of incredible quarterbacks. And you played one-armed Brock Purdy and Daniel Jones. That is not the same as playing Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. It's not the same thing. So the Eagles have such a deep, fantastic roster, almost with no holes in it at all. But you do just wonder. You wonder. You're like, okay, like I know you're really good, but this was a really, really easy path and a fortunate path. One that I think probably 4 AFC teams all could have gone through as well, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. Here's an interesting note about the Eagles, because, Jalen Hurts has been fantastic. I agree that he's not completely healthy. Obviously, we know on the other side, Patrick Mahomes is not completely healthy, nor is apparently a lot of that Kansas City roster. The 2 weeks is going to be absolutely needed for both of these teams to get healthy, and maybe it does come down to which team can get healthier the fastest. But here's just a couple notes on the Eagles. You can point out just about any metric. They've been so good really on every single side of the ball, but especially historically good in terms of their rushing ability. You probably saw it if you watched that broadcast. The Eagles broke the NFL season record for rushing touchdowns as a team. In addition, they also became the only team in NFL history with 4 players that rushed for 5 or more touchdowns. So it's one of those things like Kansas City didn't allow a lot of rushing yards. And I know I'm not trying to get too deep into the Super Bowl bit because you're right. We're going to talk about it more in depth next week. There's so much to react to on Championship Sunday that's kind of where our focus is here today. But it's interesting. The leading rusher in that Bengals Chiefs game was Joe Burrow with 30 yards. So potentially you're seeing some strength on strength with Kansas City and Philly. But before we get too deep into the Super Bowl, obviously we need to talk about the AFC Championship. But first, we've got a question from our YouTube audience. Just a reminder for those podcast listeners, if you like YouTube and you want to see our pretty faces, you can do that at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday night. The question is, what is your opinion on which Super Bowl team has the better backup quarterback? Speaking of the 49ers losing all of their quarterbacks, just every single one of them. Obviously the Eagles, Gardner Minshew, and then Chad Henne for the Chiefs. I'm taking Chad Henne, not necessarily because I think he's the better, well, maybe he is straight up the better quarterback, but we've seen him do magic in the playoffs. He rarely plays, but given the 2 opportunities in the last 3 years, he succeeded. And I'm not saying Minshew can't, but there was a noticeable drop-off, and it's partially how this Eagles offense is constructed. It's constructed for a running quarterback, and not that Minshew can't, but no one's rushing like Jalen Hurts is. So I think all things considered, bottom line, the Chiefs have Travis Kelce. Any quarterback can find an open Travis Kelce. So I'm going to say Chad Henne, but I just gave you a bunch of caveats.
Yeah, I mean, Gardner Minshew's drop-off, obviously his time at the Jags was not incredible. However, the only reason I'll take him is he can grow a mustache like no one's business.
That is so true.
And honestly, there's a confidence that gives a man. And so I gotta see what he's looking like rolling into the Super Bowl, and then I'll be able to tell you.
Pregame outfit. That's a great answer.
I gotta see that pregame outfit.
Yeah.
Aaron, my gut instinct is like immediate reaction is Gardner Minshew. I just think he's a better quarterback. However, this is not in a vacuum. If you're asking me which quarterback I'd rather have on my team as a backup, the answer is Gardner Minshew. But if we're talking like Jalen Hurts gets hurt, Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, which quarterback's better? The answer is Chad Henne, and it's because he has Andy Reid as his coach. It's all about
Yep.
because he has Andy Reid as his coach. He can scheme up. You saw him in the playoffs against the Browns a few years ago. Chad Henne comes in, makes a clutch couple plays. You saw against the Jaguars, Chad Henne comes in and leads them on a 98-yard touchdown drive. And while Henne's doing a good job of just not screwing it up and executing the plays correctly, it's all schemed up by Andy Reid. If you're actually watching what's happening in the play, he calls the game in an instant so much different. And he can get away with that, and he can do that. Obviously, with the weapons they have, it's easier also schematically when, you're talking about Jalen Hurts being a very effective runner where there's not any like quarterback powers called really with Patrick Mahomes. He's more just off script, scrambling around. There's not very many called quarterback rushes with Patrick. So Chad Henne's the answer for me, but only because of Andy Reid.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I gave a bunch of caveats. But great question. That was from Michael. Thanks for asking that question.
Thanks, Michael.
Hopefully, we just talked about it. The 49ers game kind of stunk because you got down to your third and fourth quarterbacks. Hopefully, we don't see that in the Super Bowl. But the reality is, you never know. It's a long season. Injuries are mounting. Hopefully, these 2 weeks give these teams a chance to rest. All right, we've waited long enough. We are how many minutes into the show before we brought it up? All right, we made it 16 whole minutes. That's pretty good. I'll take it, but it's time. AFC Championship. You guys know how this game went. There's probably when the reports come out as far as viewership, there's going to be around 50 million people that watch this game. By a lot of people just kind of speculating, but that. Anyways, everyone watched this game.
And in some senses, this could have been kind of like with other times. This probably would have been the true Super Bowl.
Yeah,
depending on how things go.
Yeah, we'll see. But Johnny, we'll give the floor to you. At some point, I'll have to take it back because you'd probably run with it for the rest of the episode. But
I'll start us off.
Okay, Josh, go ahead. Get us started.
An unfortunate time. Definitely an unfortunate loss. I will say I have never seen a better officiated game in my life.
Okay.
I had nothing but the utmost respect.
Yeah.
Gracious is a word that I would use to describe the refs. I mean, just the time when you make a mistake and there's like, you know what, go ahead and do it again. It's fine.
Oh.
I just think that's really cool of them. So anyway, That's all I have to say.
All right.
Johnny, did you see this game in a similar way or? You got 20 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Let me start off with this. I have an issue when the moment especially a fan, not a player, but a fan. The moment a fan complains about officiating, you are labeled as just blaming the refs for the loss. Whereas both can be true. Where you missed opportunities to win the game, yet also the refs potentially cost you the game as well with their inadequacies also.
The O-line was not great.
The Bengals had the ball. Yeah, the Bengals had the ball with 45 seconds left. They had it. They had the ball. With 2 minutes left, the Bengals had the ball. They had a chance to go down and win. That is true. That is true. Yeah. They had their opportunities to win the game. They didn't make maybe one more play really to win the game. Chiefs played phenomenal, especially on defense. They really did a great job limiting the run game. I mean, they were in the backfield the entire game. Joe had no time to get the ball off. The Bengals offensive line that played so well against Buffalo, these backups were horrendous against Kansas City. I believe Joe was sacked 4 times in the first quarter alone. That just was, as soon as that happened, huge problem. The Bengals, they really don't blitz a lot. You give up 23 points to the Chiefs, you'd like to think you can win that game. In reality, the point total's rough there. But to not really get to Patrick Mahomes when he's hobbled, to not bring more blitzes was incredibly frustrating to watch. This game was won and this game was lost at the line of scrimmage. The Chiefs were able to protect Patrick Mahomes and the Bengals were not able to protect Joe Burrow. It's really that simple. Chris Jones was in that backfield the whole game. Get to him a little bit more later, but he played a phenomenal game overall getting into the backfield, and he's been shut down by the Bengals, even with that bad offensive line in the previous matchups. So that's truly where this game was lost. Now, there's a lot of other really fluky, random plays that went on throughout the game, as there is in every single game. Let's jump into the officiating then, though. I just mentioned there's plenty of opportunities. The Bengals could have won this game. They could have gotten in field goal range perhaps before the end of the half. Not in field goal range. They could have potentially gotten to the end zone before the end of the half. Maybe there's some missed clock management as well. Let's talk about the officials a little bit, though. And if you guys think of any other very important ones, because there's missed calls in every game, remind me. So there's a couple huge ones in this game, really. One is there's the non-roughing the passer on Chris Jones against Joe Burrow. Is it a violent hit? No, but he takes 3 steps after the ball is out and shoves Joe to the ground. That has been called consistently all year. And what do we always ask for in officiating? Consistency. Whether you hate the rule or not, we just want you to call it the same way both ways. All right? Like that's fine. There is the weird replayed third down where the official clearly does not get into the picture to try to stop the play. He's not even blowing his whistle. He's just waving his arms. Yep. And they literally replay the down. Not a single player paused at any moment in that. It was a true 5th down that the Chiefs actually ended up converting. So that's ironic or weird, I guess, that it was a 5th down.
Buy our merch, please. We're going to make special Bengals exclusive 5th goal.
I mean, that was just crazy. And then you have the block in the back on that Chiefs critical punt return. Now, I'll say this again, Drew Chrisman, why are you punting it in the middle of the field? Why are you punting a line drive? So again, this is the whole, it's not mutually exclusive. Bengals make a really dumb decision. And then the refs also whiff on the calls. There's 2 blatant block in the backs where they actually take the player to the ground. The Chiefs do. This kick return is really the only reason that the Chiefs are able to get into field goal range. And then the hit on Patrick Mahomes out of bounds by Joseph Ossai is able to happen. No Bengals fans that are reasonable are arguing that call. It's clearly a late hit out of bounds on Patrick Mahomes. I feel for Joseph Ossai because one play does not really cost the game. That is about as close as you possibly can get to that being the case, though, because Harrison Butker was not making a 58-yard field goal. He's had hamstring issues the whole year. He really didn't make his 40-yard kick by much. So he was not going to make that kick. So you just can't do it, man. You just can't. Like, you cannot do it. You can't risk. There's no reward there for that risk to try to get Patrick there. Mike Hilton's already there. Patrick's not trying to break a tackle. He's trying to get out of bounds with where that situation is on the clock. Okay, so we talked about that. All of these, there's mistakes in every single game. You could call holding on every single game. I would also argue on that scramble by Patrick Mahomes, Trey Hendrickson's literally put in a headlock and unable to go after him.
Clearly.
You could call holding on the offensive line almost every single time. Here's the problem with all of these calls. How they were handled and when they happened in the game, while I don't believe the games are fixed by the NFL, they certainly didn't help their cause with people who believe that these games are fixed, especially with gambling money. Everybody came into this game thinking, man, the NFL really wants Patrick Mahomes to win. He's the next Tom Brady. He's the next golden boy. Everybody wants him in the Super Bowl when it comes to money, when it comes to, everything, And, there's a million storylines with the Eagles and Chiefs, with Andy Reid facing his old team and the Kelsey brothers. And there's so many things that the NFL gets to play off of. I don't think that it's fixed, guys. But I also don't think that people who feel some resentment in that way are that insane. When the Bengals lose the Super Bowl in part on a phantom holding call against the Rams in the Super Bowl last year, this franchise is not ridiculous for feeling slighted by the NFL and like they are being picked on. The Buffalo coin toss thing this year with the neutral field. There is logic and reason to them feeling this way.
Yep.
So I'll let you guys talk and share your thoughts in general. But then I'd also like, I don't like just complaining about things. I want to talk about how can we make officiating better, because we also don't
Yeah.
want, even if you were a neutral fan, it felt like the vast majority of people, even if they thought, most of them seemed to think it was uneven towards the Bengals, certainly. But a lot of them were like, this kind of ruined the game in part.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
refs were
I mean,
so involved.
when you have Tony Romo and RG3 and who
Ugh.
was the third guy I was listening to say that, like Richard Sherman, like all of these guys saying this is terrible officiating. Here's a clear way to do it. And I know that we all know this probably, well, the three of us. NFL refs are paid about $205,000 a year on average. They're not full time. They have day jobs. Let me list you a few just quick day jobs that NFL refs have had. Walt Coleman, who worked from 95 to 2019, is a dairy farmer. Tony Coronet was a high school teacher. And I believe he is still currently active. Adrian Hill, still currently active, is a aerospace engineer. These guys have day jobs. Now that's kind of fun, and this is like fun little, public interest piece, to put out in like, June or July at your local newspaper. That shouldn't happen, frankly.
Yeah.
They should have nothing. They should be provided for and compensated and trained well enough to not have to need anything else to do in a calendar year. Make a side hustle. Sure, it's 2023. Everyone's got a fun side hustle. Milk some cows. Go design a rocket. Go have fun. But they shouldn't need to have day jobs. The idea of a referee having day jobs, I don't even know what the profits are on, well, non-profit. I don't know what the revenue is on the NFL.
They're increased, Josh. They just announced that they're increasing the salary cap by 16%. They're just fine.
They're fine. They're great. They're good guys. It's okay. NFL, not that it's having a full resurgence, but I feel like there's been a lot more buzz as of late. You have new talents, you have better games. It's not just 2 or 3 big names anymore. There was a legit shot for 3 or 4 teams out of each conference to make their Super Bowl run, like we said. So they're not hurting for that. What they're hurting for is, and they can say, I mean, listen to this. Operations.nfl.com press release type of things. Where was it? There was nowhere to hide on the football field. Whether working in a closely contested Super Bowl or the final minutes of a preseason game, officials are expected to exhibit the same high level of excellence on every play. Bolded, they are carefully selected, extensively prepared, and rigorously evaluated to ensure they call games correctly and consistently. And I believe later on, gosh, they say they have a 98% correct call rating, which you would expect the NFL to say in their official press release on referees.
Yeah, I
so
don't buy that.
Know that no one's buying that. No one's buying that, and that's not just because we're fans, but also that we are fans. Like, that shouldn't be a detriment, like you said, Johnny. I'm sorry. Still in 2021, the most plays were officiated on the field without instant replay review. 99.3% were unaccounted for. Were like unreviewed. Only 40% of on-call fields have been overturned since 1999. That's also not, to be fair, not great.
Well, also, that's not even counting like that Devontae Smith catch falls under that 99.3% because it wasn't reviewed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to say, like, the amount of calls that have gone unreviewed. I mean, how many calls? Yeah, I was going to say the majority of calls last night, well, as of recording last night, were unreviewed. That doesn't, just because you're spouting out these things does not mean that they're significant stats. The reality is that the NFL does not invest in the same way. I don't know what the going rate is for FIFA or like even just like, Premier League or La Liga. Like, I don't know what they're making, but I'm assuming they're making the same or more and probably full time. And Johnny would probably be a better source for that. But the reality is these guys are not single-handedly focused on rules and like officiating. They have other things to do. They claim to work 30 to 35 hours a week. That's fine. I have no issue with that. You can fill out their schedule another 10 or 15 hours a week, and you can handsomely compensate them for that. They're getting 50 to 60 grand on average per Super Bowl, each ref. You can shell out the money for that. So that is not like the only solution. That's not going to guarantee that things get fixed. But if you invest in more officiating time, you're going to get, at the very least, slightly better results. At the very least.
There's a lot of people, and Johnny, you pointed this out, a lot of Bengals fans that feel that the system is against them. And look, maybe it is. But for everyone saying with a straight face, the NFL is rigged. And I understand why you feel that way. But do you realize how many people would have to keep their mouths shut? Do you realize how much money the NFL would have to shell out to people to say, shh, we're rigging the system, don't say anything? It's so much. And
when things like Deflategate and Spygate get called out almost as soon as they're figured out, like, yeah, that the NFL, like, yeah, that Roger Goodell has like a secret like betting line. Now, I'm not saying that these guys aren't automatically pure and uncorrupt.
Correct. Right.
But to say that they're actively rigging seasons, we all love it's the NFL scriptwriters trying to throw a crazy twist at the end. It's like, that's
right.
There's too many moving pieces. You got 53 guys on each team. You have multiple coaches, you have multiple training staff, you have multiple media guys. Like, the mechanisms are too complex for, hey, we're going to rig everything. You have to tell too many people. Like, there's a minimum number of people that need to know about something like that in order to make sure it goes off without a hitch. You can't get that number easily.
No.
On the internet, you can they're throwing hot mics down on these guys now.
Right.
They're picking up so much sideline banter. You are picking up so much stuff now. The transparency is at an unrivaled level. You have to, yeah. Sorry, now all of my nerdy grad school stuff's coming. The burden of proof. You're big in the okay.
Well,
shut up, Josh.
All that being said, no, the NFL is not rigged. That does not mean that what happened to the Bengals was not completely unfair. And here's the other thing. If you are the NFL, part of the issue stems from the fact that the NFL hires their own referees. Now, that's nothing different from what any other professional league does. But when you are hiring referees, and in theory, this was either the best or the second best or some combination of referees that you have in the NFL because they're calling the AFC Championship game, and that's how bad it is, that's a really bad look. Now,
it is.
Frankly, because so many people are talking about the NFL, and yeah, it's maybe quote unquote bad publicity, but the reality is everybody's talking about this game. Does the NFL care? I don't know. Because here's the other thing. Truly, if you strapped Roger Goodell or any high-level NFL executive to a lie detector, they would want Kansas City in the Super Bowl. They just would. It's gonna.
Yep.
Yeah.
The ratings will be better.
Every
You've got
time.
Patrick Mahomes, and nothing against Cincinnati because clearly there's talent all over that field. Young talent.
Yeah.
The Bengals aren't going anywhere.
No.
But-
and as a consolation, Bengals, you will be back. If it's not next year or the year after, like, this is a team that is preparing itself too well. Anyway.
So that's part. Yeah, you're right, Josh. But that's part of the problem. Is that no, it's not rigged, but the NFL is kind of playing favorites at the same time. There's a balance here. Yeah, they're kind of playing favorites. Like, again, you give a lie detector to some of the NFL execs, I think they're pretty happy with how things turned out. Eagles, Chiefs. Now, I will say, going back to the game a little bit, Patrick Mahomes was sensational. Playing on still a badly injured ankle, he was unbelievable. I had concerns that when he rolled out of the pocket, he wasn't going to be able to move very well and wasn't going to be able to get the job done. Instead, it was just the opposite. He was perfect. He was 8 for 8 on throws rolling outside the pocket at 8+ miles an hour. So in other words, throws on the run, he was perfect. He got that first down. He ran when the season depended on it. He found a way. And I know he got a lot of love from Tony Romo and everybody, and I know there's a lot of people that are sick of, and I'm included, Chris Collinsworth basically worshiping him during the game. I think we can show a little bit on that. But some of the plays that Patrick made, you're like, oh my goodness, what a magician. So from that perspective, I mean, here's another stat just to show how impressive he was, truly, because I think that's it's not really getting lost. No one's losing the fact that Patrick Mahomes is great. No team had won a conference championship with fewer yards rushing than the Chiefs did. The Chiefs had 42 yards rushing. No team has ever won a conference championship with that amount of rush yards, which just goes to show you, number one, the Bengals defense, all things considered, did well enough, right? It wasn't quite good enough considering some of the pressure that the Chiefs were able to bring against Joe Burrow, but Mahomes was good. And again, I think it's going to come down to which quarterback is healthier. Can Mahomes really get healthier in 2 weeks? Because he's going to need to be a lot healthier against a Philadelphia Eagles team that I believe led the NFL in sacks this season. But all that being said, how do we fix this? That was kind of the question posed. Guys, there's too much money in the NFL. Johnny, you talked about the salary cap's going up by 16 point whatever million. There's too much money. Why have the own, and I think probably because the owners would never do this, but what the owners should do is they should hire some independent firm to be like, that's if you want to solve this problem, part of it is get the referees out of the payroll of the NFL. You talk about transparency. If you want actual transparency, if you want a way to actually hold these referees accountable, and I understand it is a difficult job. It truly is. But this was unacceptable. Both can be true. It's an extremely difficult job. It's also unacceptable. I think a perfect solution to this, will it ever happen? I don't think so. But having an independent firm that maybe the owners hire, or maybe there's some way to manage the money so the NFL is not directly involved in these officials. Because I don't think the NFL is rigged. But if you're the NFL, how do you defend yourself?
Yeah.
When it was this lopsided, when, Johnny, to your point, the same logic that would have had the Chiefs and Bills playing an AFC Championship game at a neutral site, that same logic, based on the Bills playing one less game, was not used when the Bills and Bengals played. Obviously, the Bengals took care of business. Didn't kind of end up mattering. But the reality is you used one logic for this game and a different logic for this, even though you already had logic written in the rules before this event happened that spelled out exactly what you should do in this situation. So, no, is the NFL rigged? I don't think so. But how do you defend yourself, NFL, when you're playing favorites?
Yeah. Are you going to fine these guys? No, I realize the referees are under collective bargaining. I think is what the NFL Referees Association.
Yeah.
So I realize there are union rules that I just don't have time to dig into. But is there going to be any actual repercussions of this? Are there going to be investigations? No, and that's
zero.
And that's the issue. You're not going to engender trust with your organization if you're hiding behind, and I'm not saying they're maliciously hiding behind formalities and bylaws and all that. Like, I get it. We've all been part of things larger than ourselves, corporate structures. I worked at large national chains. Like, there's a bunch of bylaws you guys don't even realize is going on behind the scenes. I'm not trying to call that out, but if this is not going to be good for you guys if people are going to start. You're going to lose fans because they're not going to care. They're going to go, oh, well, the NFL wants X in there. And you're not doing anything to say, hey, we care about the integrity of the game. Yeah. You're either going to release a press release spouting the exact same stats I just gave, saying, oh, we're 98% and no one's perfect. No.
It's the passivity, though, towards it, though, Josh.
It is.
You're right.
It is.
It's not that they're doing anything, I would say, kind of like what you, Aaron, you mentioned, other than maybe the coin flip thing and literally changing the rules a couple weeks before the game would actually happen. That's the first time it's felt actively manipulating the system to aid teams that you playing favorites. Typically, it's almost the problem is a passivity from the NFL towards making their officiating better. They're not doing anything to help them. And so, like, I'm going to yell and scream and be angry about what's happening on the field. Of course, I'm a fan. The refs are never going to be perfect. Aaron, I love your idea of the independent firm. There's a few other things. How about implementing a sky judge like they have in soccer or tennis? to where
Yeah.
they're literally, and I know the NFL says that they kind of have this, but they don't really. If
They
they
don't.
did, they would have frozen that Philly game against the 49ers and overturned the call.
Yep.
They would have done it. And I know Philadelphia was going super fast up to the line. Honestly, I would say that's not the responsibility of the refs on the field. That's asking far too much of them. They're going to be stopping the play all the time
Yeah.
if that's the case. And so there has to be somebody else in the Sky Judge doing it. Josh, you're mentioning repercussions. I've always said you can't fine them. You can't suspend them like for some of these things, partially because they're part-time. So by
Yeah.
making them full-time, by having better training, by investing in them further, you can hold them accountable then without overstepping your bounds, if you will. Because at that
Sure.
point, it's like when they find an NFL player, you're being compensated plenty. If we fine you 10 grand, we find you 10 grand.
Correct.
And that's because you did something detrimental to the league. They don't do that for you missing a catch on the field. It's because you're doing something detrimental that damages, in their mind, really the image of the league typically, right?
Mhm.
Here's the other things that they do that are wrong. These are all-star crews in the playoffs. They have to stop doing this. That might have been part of the problem on that third down play that should have been that they were trying to blow dead and they didn't. And then they redid the whole play, even though that's absolutely absurd because they don't have continuity then. They don't have chemistry, just like a team on the field. These refs work together all season and then you piecemeal for the playoffs for your most important games of the season. Guys, I don't care if they're the best line judge. That crew's either the best crew or they're not. And that's, you have to keep crews together. That's an extraordinarily simple fix. Please just keep these crews actually together. Don't split them up.
Yep.
And then here's my one last thing that I would say. And this might not come out correctly. Most of these officials are fairly old. There is a whole crop of men that love football in college who aren't quite good enough to get there for the pros. Where is a recruiting system and a obvious recruiting base to get young, energetic, passionate people about the game that know it and understand it already? They understand the perspective of the players. There was that bogus taunting call on the Chiefs in the game. You know, I'm not going to say like no calls went in the Bengals' favor. Now, I will say on that one, the rules are very specific, much like the Patrick Mahomes hit by the Bengals. They're very specific. You can cheer all you want by yourself or with your teammates. It can't be directed at anybody else. And as soon as you direct it at somebody else, they're going to call it. Just like as soon as that quarterback touches the white line and you touch him, they're probably going to call it. So, but you can form an officiating academy, get better training, do better practices. The NFL has too much money and too much power to not be doing these things. When I can think of these obvious solutions, some of them don't even cost money to make these fixes because it's never going to be perfect. But with gambling money in this now as well, that makes things even more conspicuous. So if you're the NFL, don't you want to take out as much doubt that your game is being played fairly as possible? I would think the integrity of the game would be
That's
one
how you
of
sell
the
it.
top things possible, because if the integrity of the game is lost, truly, and again, I don't think it is, but I think Aaron phrased it very well as they just play favorites oftentimes. But the integrity of the game is what makes the game.
Yeah.
If you don't have integrity of the game, if you lose that, then gambling dries up because nobody trusts anything. The fans stop coming because they don't think there's a level playing field. Obviously, I'm going to extremes, but my point is you turn people off. You turn people off to the game, and you want to grow the game. You want to grow the game. And so I say this again, like most of my rants, I love football. I love the NFL. We don't want to be talking about the officials. We would have loved for that game to end. And it was just like, man, and I'm, again, Bengals fan, Patrick Mahomes made a wild play at the end, completed the ball. They got in field goal range. They drained it. Oh, okay. okay. Like, officials are best when we almost don't notice them. And that makes a very tough job. That's a tough job, and it's a thankless job. But let's compensate them well enough that will be our thank you for them.
Yeah, that's right. And look, this is not a unique problem to the NFL. The NBA has had a couple of one bad call and one borderline maybe conspiracy, which we don't have time to talk about. Check out our TikTok later this week for that. But the NBA, like, just clear, obvious foul against LeBron. And I know he reacted ridiculously and all this stuff, but the reality is, in that moment, that call cost the Lakers a game. Now, we're not talking about it as much because it was in the middle of the regular season, a game of a season of 82 games. The Lakers may not even make the playoffs. This was not the conference championship, but same deal, like an obvious foul that could have been easily corrected with a reasonable replay system was not. And I'll touch on it real quick. There's the Memphis situation where the statistician may be inflating Jaren Jackson Jr.'s defensive numbers for Defensive Player of the Year. So it's not that like cheating can't happen. It has. Like, this has happened in the NBA with betting. This has happened in Major League Baseball. I mean, 100 years ago, there was a cheating scandal. It's not to say that cheating can't happen. But if you're the NFL, if you're the NBA, get ahead of it. Make sure that people know that there, like you guys have been saying, that there is integrity in this system.
There's still time to frame this as a positive. You guys have a massive marketing team. Make this, recruit these young guys, make this a desirable position. Like, hey, are you upset with how bad officiating is? You can preserve the game for generations to come.
And become a millionaire.
Boom, there it is. That one's for free.
And make great money doing it. You can still be involved. Gosh. People are desperate to be involved in sports that they love, that they grew up playing. They play in college and maybe they get an injury, or maybe they're just not quite good enough to move on to the professional league to play. Yeah. Gosh, I feel like if you actually put some marketing and recruiting dollars into going into that recruiting base that is college athletes, man, you could get them, and you'd be getting young, energetic, passionate referees.
You have guys who love not because of the power that it might have, but they just because of how the game is, because of the process of the game and the intricacy, they love these rules. We all have friends who are like that, who do actually know the tech, who do know the rule book, who do know a lot of the things, like who are the ones who pointed out that, maybe they started enforcing that obscure rule that says no foreign objects as placeholders for the kickoff. Like, those someone had to be a nerd and go, wait, they're enforcing statute 7, subsection B. Like, there are people who love this. Use that to your advantage while you still have those people who love the game and are nerds. Yep. Those people who are no fun at parties, go get rich.
Well said. All right. Well, we'll wrap up with that. Again, as you probably expected heading into this episode, an episode named Is the NFL Rigged? We were going to spend some time on this, but hopefully you at least enjoyed it, and hopefully we gave maybe, again, not that we have any say, but hopefully we at least gave a solution that makes sense, and maybe we'll see
if you know an NFL ref, or if you know Roger Goodell. If you're buddies with Roger,
just refer him here, and we'll help him out for just a
small we'll do an interview.
Yeah,
for free.
Yeah, sure. All right, so that does take us to picks of the week, and of course, this is finally the week where some of our long-term picks are finally paying off. So we did pick Super Bowl picks. I did have the Chiefs making it to the Super Bowl. I had the 49ers winning. That's the only points, because Johnny had the Bengals winning. We all had the 49ers in there somewhere. They didn't make it. So we're actually done with points for our original, before the playoffs started, Super Bowl picks. So I did get a point because the Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl. We also had the Australian Open ending. Novak Djokovic did indeed claim the title, so Johnny and I picked up a point there. No points on the women's side. It was Sabalenka winning it for on the women's side. And then last week, we were picking Kent State and Northern Illinois basketball, and we were all debating how many points will Kent State win by, and they just straight up lost. So we got no points there at all.
At least said they wouldn't cover.
Yeah, Johnny was closest, but no points awarded because we failed miserably.
No cover is not a loss, technically.
Kent State, we are sorry for pointing out how good you were doing.
I should have done what I normally do, just pick out against you guys.
Yeah, you should have.
I apologize.
All right. Well, when the
Josh,
dust
you
settles,
did pick a push, so you did kind of pick against
I
us.
did pick against you guys. I picked
Yeah.
the most statistically unlikely thing.
I appreciate the pick, though. You were going to get 2 points if that happened. It did not. Our scoreboard reads myself with 56 points, Johnny with 51, Josh with 49. So I'm carrying this lead, guys. I know we're not like, we're just kind of carrying this on into infinity, but I'm slowly building up this lead, and I'm trying not to let it go. So that takes us to this week. Speaking of the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets are headed to the current top seed in the East, the Boston Celtics. Currently, the Nets sit in 4th in the Eastern Conference standings. So we actually all have Boston. That makes a lot of sense. Boston's playing at home. They're playing really well. Jason Tatum, potential MVP candidate.
Sorry, Jason Tatum, you're gonna like break an ACL or something tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Wednesday night.
No.
Yep. If we bring up anything
our
good
bad.
on this show, it just falls apart.
It does.
I'm going to pick Boston 109-101. So whoever picks the closest score, or if the Nets win, because that's probably going to happen now, good for Brooklyn. You're welcome. But I've got 109-101 Celtics.
Yeah, I got Boston. Yeah, I got Boston 118-110.
Okay.
And I have Boston 128-122. The Nets
Ooh.
don't play any defense, but they do have Kyrie Irving, who has finally focused on basketball and is looking more like his old self. But they don't play any defense, so they score a ton of points every single game because they have to. No Kevin Durant, though, so I have a hard time seeing the Nets winning the game. But we'll go Boston. We'll go Boston in that game over the Nets.
All right. Well, there's our picks. We'll, of course, report back next week, and we'll probably throw some Super Bowl picks in there as well, since we actually it actually worked out pretty well. We can all just pick the Super Bowl because none of our picks were right. So, all right. Despite the fact that we ranted against the referees, there are still more people, places, and things that we have strong disagreements and or are annoyed with. So you know what that means. Straight to jail. All right. So I know we established this from the very first episode. So here we are 97 episodes later. But I think, Josh, even though you and I are bad at geography, I think we can answer this question.
Oh, I think I know the answer to this one.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah, Josh, get out your globe for this. Josh, you know,
very nice globe, Josh.
For those that are...
Was New York around in 1891?
I believe so. Yeah, for those that are obviously podcast only, Josh has a very nice vintage globe. My question is, where is the Empire State Building? What state is the Empire?
Oh, yeah, I know this one.
Yeah. Tell me, Josh.
New York.
New
It
York.
says right there. New
Okay,
York.
yeah. So first question, ding, 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 correct. Second question, which two NFL football teams are located in New York?
That's a false question. The only one that's in New York is Buffalo. The other two in New Jersey.
Correct. Okay, thank you. That was a much
Got
better
him.
answer to my poorly worded question.
That's
You're
a
exactly
great
right.
Nailed it.
So in the general state, not really, but you've got the Jets, the Giants, and the Bills.
Yes.
And for
Yes, you do.
some reason, which I cannot understand whatsoever, when the Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, or basically just South Jersey, even though that'll make all Eagles fans hate us, as Johnny pointed out. as we
You
were
are the
watching this
same
game.
as South Jersey. You are the same. And I have family there.
Oh, Taylor Ham up there, man.
Yeah. Anyways, the Empire State Building lit their building up green and white following the Philadelphia Eagles win. You have the Giants in New York in the same division who got beat by... What are we doing? Why, Empire State? Are you
Dare
so
you.
desperate for attention that you just lit up your building?
Are you
Like,
trying?
Yay, Philly. You're
Aaron,
one of your
they
biggest
defended it, too.
rivals? I know
They
they
defended
did.
it.
You're gonna
Straight
do it
to
for
jail.
every team. No, you're not. Yeah. Don't do it for every team. You're New York.
You know how you get upset with like your little siblings who basically pick the team that you root against or pick the team that won the championship most recently just to pick a winner? That's literally what the Empire State Building is doing. Like absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to send the entire building straight to jail, but also the people that made this decision, because I know the building's technically inanimate, but I'm set all of it straight to jail. Just what are we doing?
Aaron, did you see the protest there
Yes.
this morning?
Get out of jail free card to those folks.
Yes.
As they yes.
I am very proud
They get
of
to run
all
the
of
jail.
those New Yorkers
Yes.
that literally thought that it was important enough to skip work in the morning and protest.
Uh,
Good job, New Yorkers.
The noble feat of skipping work in the morning in order to protest.
Yes. Well done.
yeah.
Power to the people.
Yes. Amen.
More like France every
who
day.
I am throwing in jail, and I'm also giving out a get out of jail free this week too, Aaron. Tony Romo needs to go to jail. He needs to be sent straight to jail and rethink his broadcasting career. This when Tony actually first came out as a broadcaster, that first year, I actually found him decently captivating. He had some interesting takes. He was going through the X's and O's and showing. And I always deem, especially in a game where I don't have a dog in the fight, if I come away and feel like I've learned or understood more about the game afterwards, that's awesome. But Tony, not only does he not say anything of significance anymore, he just blabbers, man.
Mm-hmm.
He takes away from the game. He's distracting from the game. And I know everybody has some people hate this Joe Buck and Chris Collinsworth and whatever. Everybody has their favorites. I don't really hear any Tony Romo defenders anymore. Like, there just isn't, because Tony, I'm sorry, maybe you are doing your homework and such, but remember, these announcers get to go to practices and stuff all week beforehand to like kind of see what plays are probably coming up for that game. And that's why these announcers and color commentators don't pick the game beforehand, because they don't want because they have insider information. It'd basically be like insider trading. Tony acts like he has no idea what's about to go on and acts so surprised and constantly is blabbering on to where Jim Nantz can't even talk.
Yeah.
Not to mention, okay, this is going to be me being a salty Bengals fan, but I feel like a lot of fans are starting to already get sick and tired of Patrick Mahomes. And it's not even because of Patrick Mahomes. So I kind of feel bad about it. Maybe it's about his wife and little brother a little bit, but it's also because sports analysts, talk show hosts talk so much about him like he's the second coming of Jesus Christ. But worse than that, okay, those are talk show hosts. You can't be doing that on a broadcast. He's in the middle of the game. He's comparing him to Michael Jordan. And I'm like, oh, are we on Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp? What are we doing? What are we doing? Tony, I want you to explain what's going on in the game. Yes, Marquez Valdez-Scantling breaks open, and Mahomes made the best throw of the game, somehow fitting that into him in the end zone. I don't need you drooling over Patrick in the moment. Talk to me why Patrick had time. What did the offensive line do to give him pass protection? Did the running back pick up an extra blitzer? What did Marquez Valdez-Scantling do to actually break open there? Did Patrick manipulate the defensive back with his eyes? Break it down for me, man. I don't need you just drooling, oh my gosh, it's Michael Jordan. He's the greatest ever. I can't believe he just did that. Like, man, no, that's for morning talk show hosts. Your job is to at least be invisible or add to the game. Like, your job is storytelling and adding to the game and explaining what's going on in the field, not hyperbole and giving hot takes. So Tony Romo straight to jail, and Jim Nantz gets a get out of jail free card for dealing with him. I think he missed Chris Sims at this point. Yeah. Poor Jim Nantz got stuck with Tony Romo, and he's stuck with him for a while, I think. So
to your point,
Jim, you can get out whenever you want, man.
Johnny, to your point, on the other side, and I think he's calling the Super Bowl as well, Greg Olsen with Fox has been
he's awesome.
So
fantastic.
Good. And I'm almost like,
explains the game.
Yeah, if Tom Brady decides to sign a deal with Fox, he's probably going to kick Greg Olsen out of the booth, which is, at least for those like high stakes games, which is a little unfortunate because he's been awesome. But
fantastic.
Agree.
I was going to do a pen thing because we had a little bit of conversation.
Pen Twitter.
Because it got bumped from what I'm following, because when I'm following, there's a much more urgent thing I need to be following.
Yes, there is.
We're going to talk
Breaking
about
news.
pens. Can I just say, let's just talk about this. I'm in the minority here. I can't stand the G2 crowd.
See,
Y'all,
I'm literally holding up a G2 in front of the camera, Josh.
I
all I
know. I know.
use.
I can see
Yeah.
it. I know. Well, no, I saw. Listen,
Yeah,
I was
here we go.
your
G2.
Thank
I was
you,
your
Jack.
roommate for 4 years. I saw those 36 packs you would buy and go through. You're the only man I've ever known
What else do I
to
got here?
use a pen
Got a
to
Uniball.
its completion, to use it out.
Uniball
Yeah.
right
I'm a
there.
Uniball guy. Oh yeah, a Signo.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm on the fence, I guess.
Dude, I'm a
here.
Uniball guy. I mean, well, you know me. I'm a fountain pen guy.
Which I
I'm a
respect.
Lamy Safari.
Yep.
No, I don't respect that.
Inked up with. Hey Johnny.
Z grip.
Ew, what? Johnny, come on. We're being serious here.
Now
Johnny's
just look
the
at
kind of
all
person
the
like you
pens I
ask him
got.
what's your favorite ice cream flavor, and he just says all of them. That's essentially his taste in pens.
I go between three.
No.
I go
There's
between-
one. There's that. What was that one pen? There's the one pen that just smears everywhere. It looks like you just strangled a squid to death when you use that pen. Because if you touch the ink within the moment you put it down to 5 days later, it's still a smear. That
See,
pen
I always
is the
found
worst.
I always
as long
found
as
that I
it's
couldn't
not
use
that pen.
G2s. I always found I couldn't use G2s for that reason. I just couldn't write with them.
Yeah, but
I
were you
love
using the
for
10?
Jo-
Because there's the 10, which is thicker, and I agree, it's a little too juicy.
I
The
feel like
7 is
you always gave me.
perfect.
I feel like I always just stole a G2 from your desk when you weren't looking. And so
See, but I had
you
the
you
10
used the
planted
point.
so you wouldn't steal it again. This was
Oh.
all a ploy.
Ah, dang
I was
it, that's
playing
what it
4D
was.
chess over there, man.
Gosh darn it. I'm a Papermate Flare guy. I love my Uniball Vision Elite
Okay.
and my fountain pen. Those are the only things I use. I will say, straight to jail, people who hate on the Bic Crystal. I realize that of the
Is that the 7, Josh?
That's on the Twitter one it's 7.
We'll tweet it out. For
Oh.
those that don't know what we're talking about, we'll tweet this
That
out. Or actually, we've
pen
already been
is-
talking about it.
That pen
Writing.
is incredible.
What?
It's
Straight
incredible.
to jail for anyone who
It's
disrespects
the
it.
foundation of
Do you-
this
do you know how
work
much
when
your
it comes to
G2
writing.
like owes to that thing? It has its
Nothing.
own exhibits in MoMA. It was Mr. Bich when he decided to come from Switzerland or France or one of those cool countries. Johnny
Good
knows better.
pronunciation, Josh.
Thank you. I learned how to pronounce things at seminary. Look at the original. I mean, it's now got a low plastic tip and it doesn't write. I mean, I'll admit it. It does not write super
Yeah,
well.
it
I do not
scratches the
use it
paper
for
more than it
writing.
writes on it, Josh.
Yes, it does.
Mm.
Looks wise, aesthetics wise, it's
awesome.
what set the idea of a ballpoint pen, not a roller ball. I'm a big fan of roller balls. Those are my Uniball Visions. A ballpoint pen. That's your little pilot owes everything. That is its grandfather, and you will respect it as such.
I will not.
Straight to jail. Also, just
will not.
preemptive, straight to jail. Jackson Mahomes, whatever he's about to do, just throw him in jail now.
Yeah,
That's good.
Agreed.
What am I in for this time? What you're about to do in the future.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, somehow that was not what we're following. It does take us to what we're following. Josh, I feel like we gotta, you go last because you've got breaking news. And so what better way
I
to
do have
end
breaking news.
the show with breaking news. So I'll go real quick. Apparently we've all picked animal related what we're followings. So
Oh.
anyways, so you guys know Pokemon, very famous game, multiple games, obviously, cards, whatever, all of the above. Very, very famous. So much so that it's not enough to just play the games. It's not enough to watch other people play it, maybe competitively or just for fun or shiny hunting. If you're not a nerd, then none of that made sense. Because I'm a nerd with this stuff. Some guy decided, you know what I can do? I have a fish. And I've got fancy equipment and a fancy camera that will track where my fish swims. And I can assign where my fish swims to buttons so my fish, by swimming around the tank, can play Pokemon. What a brilliant idea. I don't think this is the first time this has happened. I think this has happened with a couple different fish, apparently. This also happened if you're... you know of Twitch, which we used to stream on. It's a streaming service. They did a thing called Twitch Plays Pokemon, which was kind of the same idea. You could have people in the chat pressing buttons, and based on how people press buttons, your character would move, and you tried to complete the game. And it took forever, but they finally did it in 16 days. So basically, they took that idea. They're like, fish, go do this. What could go wrong, right? A fish playing Pokemon. That seems pretty innocent. Well, the system that was running Pokemon... I think this happened overnight. So, fish just swimming around. The system crashed. which, okay, big deal. Like you can get it set up, you can keep going, whatever. The problem is the system crashed. It went to the home screen, but the motion detection was still working. So the fish swam the correct instructions to go to the eShop and accidentally bought 5 pounds worth of currency for a game. And 5 pounds, whatever. That's so funny. A fish, it's basically like the equivalent of your kid taking your iPad and, buying $100 of V-Bucks. The problem is the 5 pounds, or I think $4, whatever the equivalent it is, the fish also revealed the credit card information on the live stream because people were tuning in, watching this fish play Pokemon. So naturally, folks, and honestly, I think they were relatively conservative with this. The folks on the live stream racked up $500 worth of purchases on this credit card.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
honestly, all things considered,
way worse.
Yeah,
I was ready, and I would not have been surprised to hear 500,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were going.
Future losses. That's not. You know what? That's not the worst.
No, it's not. So anyways, the fish apparently also managed to download an app to play Nintendo 64 games. And then he spent the reward currency on a new avatar in that game. And then changed.
Okay, we think he did this on accident.
Yeah, you're right. This fish
knew exactly what he was doing.
No,
he is guilty of fraud.
No, this fish is trying to get unionized. He's trying to force the issue.
He also changed the account name from this person's name. I think Maurice is kind of like the English version of his name to Ra-wa-wa-wa-wa. That's basically what he spelled. So anyways,
that's his name.
Yeah, exactly.
That's his name.
That's the fish's name. So anyways,
it's like that one talking dog on TikTok.
Yeah.
This is just communicating through Pokemon.
It does sound like Nintendo did the right thing here. They helped out this guy, got him a refund for all of the things that his fish bought. But that's just an incredible story. So Hall of Fame to that fish, not only playing Pokemon, but like literally decided, you know what? I think I'm done with this game. Time to do something new. Let's play some Nintendo 64 games. So respect that fish.
That's amazing.
Yep.
I love it. Josh, I'll go. And then, yes, you have breaking news. So we'll let you.
You're good. I do have breaking news.
Round it out. But for me, this is another, I love these on Twitter because people are really dumb and overestimate their own physical abilities, really their abilities in general, but especially their physical abilities. I don't know if it's just a bunch of gym bros on here who think that they can beat up a bear, but Probably. All right, here is this is a multiple choice answer. All right.
Okay.
So if you were in a fight to the death, which of these 4 animals would you choose to fight? A baboon, a hippopotamus, a moose, or a shark? Josh, I'll let you go first.
Gosh, see, this is, and I remember, I feel like just a few months ago, I was like, oh, I can single hand I feel like it was a chimpanzee or something that I said I could.
That's madness, Josh.
No, now I've matured. I've grown. I've matured. I've aged.
That thing will rip your face off.
The closest I'm getting fights to the death. If I had to, I probably could take a baboon. That's the only thing.
Really?
That's the only thing. I don't think I could off any of the others. Moose, it's got antlers. Shark, teeth. Hippo, size and surprising speed for its size. Baboons are usually coming in at about 20 to 40 inches long, weighing anywhere from about 40 to 80 pounds. Now, that is pure muscle and pure instinct. So I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying I walk out of that thing easily. But of the 4, I'll take the baboon.
Josh, I have the same answer. I think a lot of people are probably picking the moose because they're like, oh, look at those spindly little legs. I could like trip them.
Those guys don't mess around. Those guys don't mess around.
They're ginormous.
There's a reason people hunt them from like a mile away. Like,
and
they are fast.
Maybe
man.
Other people are like, oh, a hippo. Like you're right. Like it's a hippo. Oh, it's kind of chubby. Have you seen the videos of the hippos eating the watermelon? That hippo would do the same thing with my skull. There's no shot.
You know how fast a moose can run? 35 miles an hour. You know how fast I can run? Not that. Not even
half that. Not even half that.
Guys,
a shark, I just drowned. Like maybe I punched it in the eyes 1 or 2 times. I just drowned after that, so I don't really even win.
Hippos kill more people in the Nile River than crocodiles do.
Mm-hmm.
They're fast, they're territorial, they're mean. Aaron, you're right. Everybody thinks, oh, like Fiona the hippo at like the Cincinnati Zoo.
Right.
She's so cute. And look at her. She needs prosthetics. Like she's the best. No, those things are mean. They will
you want
chew
a
you up
stat
and
for
spit
that?
you out. The
500 people
Josh,
a
give me
year
stat.
killed. 500 people a year killed in Africa
Yeah.
by hippos alone.
Dude, 500 a year. That's
They
crazy.
got teeth. They got teeth, guys. They got a mouth bigger than your body, and they got sharp teeth in that mouth.
Yep.
You're
Have
not
you ever
doing a
played
thing
Hungry
against
Hungry
that.
Hippos? Those
This
little
is not
white balls
Gloria
are your
from-
head. That's your head, man.
Yep.
That's okay. So yeah, hippo's definitely out.
Yeah.
That's literally the first animal that I would take out. You guys are right about the moose. Look, if you find this tweet, the thread underneath is awesome. There's one where a moose gets hit by a car and the car is just destroyed. Moose just gets up and walks away. Like it's nothing. Okay, so moose is out. Also, Josh, thank you for the speed check. I mean, what did you say? 38 miles an hour? I mean, that's
35. Yeah, regardless.
still that's crazy. Baboon's gonna rip my face off probably too. So I actually picked shark, and I picked shark because they were one of my favorite animals growing up. Two, I think I die the quickest with the shark. Between
I
the water and I mean, hopefully he just gets like a I don't know. Hopefully he severs an artery like right off the bat, and we're just done. And I die quickly. I feel like that baboon would be really slow.
Yeah. I feel bad too.
I mean,
I probably like the baboon the most of those animals, so I'd just be sad trying to defeat this thing, you know?
The answer is I'm going to die against all four of these.
The answer is
how can I die the most
I'm wearing a
quickest
cardigan.
and
I
most
can't beat
easily?
an animal to death. Look at this.
Now-
Does this look like a guy who can like end an animal? No.
If I can choose the environment or the arena we're playing, then my answer is also definitely the shark, because bring him on dry land and I got that guy.
Yeah.
But I think the moose would kill me in water.
Yeah, okay,
the
yeah.
hippo,
I'd say it's like a
hippo on land
Oh,
or
I'll find a moose.
water.
I'll find a moose in water. Let
I
it drown,
honestly
like-
think the moose.
Yeah,
no,
the
the
moose
moose
is-
would kill me in water too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they can swim. They live in Canada. Like so. Yes, answer is the shark. So thank you for indulging.
Yep.
I love these arbitrary questions and people thinking that they can actually take on Mother Nature and not only survive but win.
Yeah. Speaking of Mother
Speaking
Nature.
of people,
Sorry, I
speaking
stole
of
your
people
segue,
being
Josh. Dang it.
audacious- No, you're good. I got you're okay. Speaking of people being audacious with animals,
Oh,
the
there you
Dallas Zoo has had a really interesting January. This has all happened in the past 17 days, barely 2 weeks. January 13th. I forget if I told you guys this. They lost a hold on, sorry. I forgot what they lost. I have it here. January 13th.
Oh,
they lost
yes, I heard about this.
a freaking like cougar. They just
Yeah.
lost.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, they lost a leopard. They just lost a leopard. It just like escaped January 13th morning. We got the notification, hey, don't go to the zoo. There's a leopard somewhere. This is different from like 2 years ago. I feel like it was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. The Columbus Zoo, which we all know and love, they lost one of their red pandas, and it's like, okay, come on, how'd you lose a red panda? Dallas lost a leopard, and it's like for like a few hours, and we're like, hey, everyone, just stay there. Last week, so yeah, then they found it. They found it a few hours later. They lost it at like 8 in. They found it at 4:40 p.m. that same day.
That's still a long time.
That's still like a long
to not
time.
know where the leopard is, Josh. That's like 8 hours.
It's not great.
knowing where the leopard
It's not
is.
great. Last week, and this is very sad. Last week, I believe it was last week. Yeah, they got a notification. One of their vultures, a 35-year-old vulture, died in the zoo, and that was just very sad. Today, someone stole 2 monkeys.
What? The same
As
zoo?
The same zoo
Oh my
today on
gosh.
Monday morning, January 30th. Dallas Zoo alerted the Dallas Police Department after animal care team discovered 2 of our emperor tamarin monkeys were
Oh
missing.
my gosh.
It was clear that habitat was intentionally compromised. It is now a police investigation. Literally, it was announced an hour before we went on air. on recording.
Oh
We're not. This is
my
not radio.
gosh.
So I was gonna. I
had
have
not
a whole
heard that.
slew. I have a whole slew of things I'm following. I put them all to. I burned them all. We have to talk about the fact that someone stole
Yeah.
2 monkeys.
And
I
they're
don't even
gonna
care about
maul
chess
someone
anymore.
to death.
Yes,
Because that's what we just talked about.
This
What
is the
kind of monkeys
third-
again, Josh? What do
these
these monkeys
are
look like?
Emperor Tamarin monkeys. Tamarin. They're not big.
Let me
but-
see here. Wikipedia, don't let me down. Oh, I love these guys. They got the funny.
They do. And someone was like, I love them so much. They are mine now.
Oh,
And they stole monkeys. Who steals monkeys from a zoo?
they're at least not on the threatened or endangered list, but that's
They
still
can go
not
buy
okay.
more. That's still
That's
not great.
still not okay. You cannot be stealing these monkeys, guys. Oh, wow. They only exist in like Brazil, Bolivia, and Peru, though.
Yeah, they're not.
They
like,
just
yeah,
do,
they're not.
they just
like,
do great in the Amazon. They're just not all over the place, but there's a
Fantastic.
million of them in the Amazon.
There's nowhere else. But there's a billion of them.
Wow.
Just there. Yeah. So, like, Dallas Zoo, get your crap together. They tweeted yesterday too, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean they're closed. They're closed today and tomorrow. We're getting ice coming in, which, as you know, shuts the entire state of Texas down.
For the ice. That's
For the
why they're
ice.
closed.
Literally,
What
they
animal
shut
got
down-
out this time, man?
I know. Yeah, Zoo is closed today. They included no. Yesterday they were like, hey, yeah, we'll put a bunch more cameras in because things just keep happening here. So Dallas, first off, to residents of Dallas, I say this: please stop stealing monkeys. That's not cool. I want to go see the monkeys. I've not been yet. I would like to see them. Thank you. To Dallas Zoo, put a lock on the monkeys. Maybe like don't just have like a door. I don't know. Again, I've not been yet. I don't know what it is, but just lock it up every now and then. Put a top on. Give them a dome. Give them the.
Oh my god.
Josh, this feels like the origin story of you becoming a superhero. It's just the whole like, if no one else will do it, then I will. I will rescue these
Isn't that
animals.
the plot of Sonic? Isn't that the plot of Sonic? If he's just going around saving all the animals.
Having never seen the movie, yes, it absolutely is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Or it could be a
Time to-
villain origin story for the monkey.
Oh my gosh, this is where
Oh.
this is right. Listen, I don't know the time period that Rise of the Planet of the Apes is set, but this might be
Having
it.
also not seen that movie,
yeah.
it definitely is.
Oh,
Definitely
Aaron, you
is.
got to see that movie.
I know.
They're great.
It's actually a fun movie.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
It's got the guy who played Gollum in it, Andy Serkis. He does great.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's so good.
Yeah. All right. Well,
But that's our bonus podcast where we just talk about cool roles Andy Serkis has been in.
yeah, once we hit episode 100, which is only 3 episodes away, hey, it's season 3. So, by the way,
Just mocap. It's just
as-
mocap.
yeah, as we close out this episode, number 1, as always, we want to thank you for listening. We really appreciate you guys. It's awesome to be able to bring you episodes every week, even when things don't go our way as fans necessarily all the time. It's still fun to get on here and yell about it, and we appreciate you supporting us in the way that you do. Speaking of support, on Wednesday, the day that this episode comes out, 5th and Goal turns 2 years old. So happy birthday to us. 2 years to the day.
Man.
Episode 1 came out. Don't listen to that episode. Listen to this one instead.
Please. We got mics now. It's great.
Yeah.
Or listen to it and totally roast us.
Yeah, that's fun too. But yeah,
Start
we just
on
want to
episode
say
20. Just
Yeah.
start-
yeah, exactly. We do want to say thank you for your support. 2 years, pretty awesome. To celebrate, we will be doing a merch giveaway on various social media platforms. I know Instagram for sure, possibly Facebook. I haven't totally decided yet. Maybe some combination of all 3, but check that out. That will be also at the same time that this episode is releasing. That giveaway will be there. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm rocking one of our new retro kind of themed t-shirts that we've got. We have a mug, we have a beanie, we have a hat, we've got a couple sweatshirt options. So that's all available. You can, if you don't win the giveaway, by all means, go to our store, fifthandgoalsports.com/merch. You can get it for yourself, but make sure you do whatever it is to get in that giveaway, and we'll make it happen. So, all right, we will be breaking down the Super Bowl next week. Chiefs, Eagles, the Kelsey Bowl. You've got some former college teammates going at it. Should be, all things considered, even despite some of the referee questions, all things considered, a really fascinating Super Bowl matchup. We'll be breaking it all down next week. We'll be obviously on social media talking about it as well. And until then, we'll see you guys later. YouTube, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate it.